The soft hum of advanced machinery filled the research vessel Luminance as it drifted through the darkness of space. Ada stood at her observation post, her silver eyes fixed on the holographic displays that surrounded her. Her slim fingers moved gracefully through the air, adjusting the sensitive instruments that searched for signs of intelligent life in this unexplored sector. As the ship's lead researcher, she had spent the last 5 cycles searching for new civilizations. Their own world needed fresh perspectives and new genetic material. Their species had too few males, and those they had were weak and sickly. It was a problem that threatened their very existence. A sudden burst of energy caught her attention. The reading was unlike anything she had seen before. Complex patterns of data streaming through space. She zoomed in on the source, a small blue planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star. "Dr. Lin," she called out to her senior researcher, "look at these readings." The older female moved closer, her expression changing from boredom to intense interest as she studied the data streams. "These patterns, they're artificial," Dr. Lin said, her voice filled with excitement, "but so primitive compared to our quantum networks." Ada nodded, already working to decode the signals. As the ship's computers processed the information, images began to form on their screens. The entire research team gathered around, watching in amazement as they got their first look at the inhabitants of this world. "Males?" Mira, the youngest researcher, whispered in shock. "So many males. And they look healthy." The images showed countless human males going about their daily lives. But what really caught their attention were the virtual reality signals. These creatures had created entire digital worlds where they could interact and play. "Their technology is primitive," Dr. Lin noted, "but look at how they use it. These virtual spaces, they're everywhere in their society." Ada watched as more data poured in. The humans had created vast networks of virtual reality systems, some for entertainment, others for work, and many for social interaction. What fascinated her most was how the males behaved in these spaces. They were creative, emotional, and surprisingly complex. "We need to study them," Ada decided, "but we can't reveal ourselves yet." Their military technology, while primitive, could still be dangerous if they feel threatened. The team worked tirelessly for days, creating a plan. They would use the humans' own virtual reality systems to study them up close. Their advanced technology could easily interface with Earth's digital networks, allowing them to create avatars that would look and behave just like human females. "Remember," Ada instructed her team, "we must be careful. These males show remarkable emotional depth. We can't treat this like our usual clinical studies." They selected their first test subject, a male named Tom who spent much of his time in virtual reality. He was a developer, creating new virtual spaces for others to enjoy. His profile showed high intelligence and creativity, making him an ideal candidate for their research. As they prepared their virtual avatars, Ada couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and worry. Their society had always seen males as necessary but limited beings. Yet these humans challenged everything they thought they knew. The males of Earth were strong, capable, and showed no signs of the genetic weaknesses that plagued the males of their own species. "What if they discover what we really are?" Mira asked, voicing the concern they all shared. "Then we'll deal with that when it happens," Ada replied. "For now, we observe and learn. These humans, they might be the key to saving our species. But more than that, I think they might teach us something about ourselves." The team made their final preparations. Tomorrow, they would make their first contact through the virtual world. Ada looked one last time at the data streams flowing from Earth, wondering what they would discover. These humans, with their primitive technology and their abundance of healthy males, had already surprised them. She had a feeling they would continue to do so. Little did she know that their simple research project would soon change both their worlds forever, starting with a chance meeting in a virtual reality game where a curious human male would begin to question why these new players seemed so different from anyone he had ever met before. Tom sat in his home office, surrounded by screens showing lines of code. His latest virtual reality project was almost complete, a new world where players could build and explore together. As he worked, a notification popped up in his headset. Someone wanted to join his test server. He checked the username, Crystal_Nova. It seemed like a normal gaming name, but something about the way this player moved through his virtual space caught his attention. Their movements were too precise, too calculated. In the research vessel high above Earth, Ada watched through her avatar's eyes. The virtual world was crude by their standards, but she found herself amazed by its charm. Her team had spent weeks perfecting their digital disguises, making sure every detail looked natural. "He's watching us," Mira sent through their private channel. Her avatar, using the name Star_Walker, stood nearby in the virtual space. "These humans are more observant than we expected." Tom's avatar approached them, a friendly wave animation playing. "Welcome to Buildverse. Are you two beta testers? Haven't seen you around before." Ada had practiced human speech patterns for days. "Yes, we're new. Your world design is interesting. Very unique." She studied his avatar's reactions, noting how even the simple animations conveyed clear emotions. "Thanks. I'm trying something different with the physics engine. Want to help me test it?" Tom moved his avatar to a floating platform nearby. "Just don't tell anyone if something breaks. It's still in development." For the next few hours, Ada and Mira explored Tom's virtual world. They watched how he excitedly showed them new features, fixed bugs they discovered, and laughed at glitches. It was nothing like the cold, efficient male specimens from their world. Back on the Luminance, Dr. Lin monitored their vital signs. "Be careful," she warned through their channel. "You're showing elevated emotional responses. Remember, this is a scientific study." But Ada found it hard to stay detached. Tom's enthusiasm was infectious. When he showed them a sunset he had coded, with colors that shifted and changed based on player movements, she felt something she hadn't expected: genuine wonder. "This is incredible," Mira's avatar said, watching the virtual sky change from purple to gold. "How did you think of this?" Tom's avatar sat down on the digital grass. "I wanted to make something beautiful that brings people together. In VR, we can create things that are impossible in the real world, but still make people feel real emotions." Ada's sensors detected a slight increase in her heart rate. These humans understood something her people had forgotten: the value of creating beauty simply for its own sake. The test session continued, with Tom showing them more of his world. He had built gardens that grew based on player interactions, mountains that could be shaped by collective effort, and spaces designed just for watching stars that didn't exist. "You two are different from my usual testers," Tom said suddenly. "You notice things others miss, almost like you're seeing human technology for the first time." Ada felt a moment of panic, but kept her avatar's movements smooth. "We just pay attention to details. It's part of our job." "Well, whatever your job is, I'm glad you're here. It's nice having testers who understand what I'm trying to create." Tom's avatar played a smiling animation. "Same time tomorrow." After they logged off, Ada stood in the Luminance's research chamber, her mind racing. Their plan to study human males through virtual reality was working, but something unexpected was happening. They weren't just gathering data anymore. They were beginning to understand these creatures on a deeper level. "We need to be careful," Dr. Lin warned during their debriefing. "These humans are more perceptive than we anticipated. And you two are getting emotionally involved." Ada nodded, but her thoughts kept returning to the virtual sunset and Tom's simple joy in creating something beautiful. Their mission was supposed to be about studying human males to save their own species. Instead, they were discovering that humans might have something far more valuable to teach them: how to feel alive. 2 weeks had passed since the first contact in virtual reality. Tom noticed something odd about his new testers. They never logged in from the same location twice. Each time they connected, their signal bounced through different servers across the globe. As a developer, this caught his attention. He sat in his chair, checking the connection logs while waiting for Crystal_Nova and Star_Walker to arrive. Something wasn't adding up. Their response times were too perfect, their movements too smooth for normal internet connections. On the Luminance, Ada prepared for another session. Dr. Lin stood nearby, her face showing clear disapproval. The human is investigating our connections. He's more skilled than we expected. Tom is just curious, Ada replied, trying to hide her worry. It's what makes him a good test subject. But deep down, she knew they were taking risks. Every session revealed more about human nature, but also risked exposing their true identity. In the virtual world, Tom had prepared something new. When Ada and Mira's avatars appeared, they found themselves in a vast digital garden. Flowers bloomed with mathematical patterns, and streams of light flowed through the air like water. "What do you think?" Tom asked. "I made it last night. Couldn't sleep, so I kept coding." His avatar moved through the garden, touching flowers that changed color at his touch. Mira's avatar reached out to touch a flower, and gasped when it transformed into a flock of digital butterflies. The program was reading and responding to their emotions through their neural interfaces, something that shouldn't be possible with Earth's current technology. "Tom," Ada said carefully, "how did you make the flowers respond to feelings?" "That's very advanced programming." She watched his avatar closely, noting every movement. He turned to face them. "Funny you should ask. I've been wondering about that too. See, my program shouldn't be able to read emotions at all. But somehow, when you two are here, it does." His avatar sat down on a glowing bench. "Want to tell me what's really going on?" In the Luminance's control room, alarms began to flash. Their neural interfaces were sensing too deeply with Earth's virtual reality system. Dr. Lin moved to shut down the connection. But Ada stopped her. "Wait," she said. "We knew this might happen. Let me handle it." She turned back to the virtual display, where Tom was patiently waiting for an answer. "We're not exactly who you think we are," Ada began carefully. Her avatar flickered slightly, showing its true form for just a second, taller, more elegant, clearly non-human. Tom didn't seem surprised. Instead, he laughed. "I knew it. The way you looked at everything like it was new. How you never understood my pop culture references, those impossible connection patterns." He paused. "You're not from Earth, are you?" Before Ada could respond, Mira's avatar moved forward. "How are you so calm about this? Most humans would be afraid." "Afraid? This is amazing." Tom stood up, his avatar glowing with excitement. "Do you know how long humanity has wondered if we're alone in the universe? And here you are, making first contact through virtual reality. That's incredible." Dr. Lin's voice came through their private channel, urgent and worried. "This is a disaster. We must end the experiment now." But Ada saw something different. In Tom's reaction, she saw hope. He wasn't afraid or angry. He was excited, curious, ready to learn. Everything their research had shown about human males' capacity for adaptation and acceptance was proving true. "Tom," Ada said, letting her avatar fully show its alien form, "we have so much to explain. But first, you need to understand why we're here." As she began to tell their story, Ada realized they had crossed a point of no return. Their mission had changed. This wasn't just about studying human males anymore. It was about building a bridge between two species. In the garden of impossible flowers, under a sky of digital stars, two civilizations began to truly meet for the first time. And somewhere, in the vast emptiness of space, the Luminance's sensors detected more ships approaching. Their superiors had noticed something was different about this mission. The next few days changed everything. Tom spent every free moment in virtual reality, learning about Ada's civilization. She had created a new private server where they could talk safely, away from both human and alien monitoring systems. "Let me understand this," Tom said, his avatar sitting cross-legged in a digital space that looked like a mix of Earth and alien architecture. "Your species has almost no males, and the few you have are weak." Ada's alien avatar nodded. Her true form was beautiful but strange, tall and elegant, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer with its own light. "That's why we started searching for other civilizations. We need to understand how other species keep their males healthy." "But why all the secrecy? Why not just make official contact?" Tom watched as Mira's avatar created complex patterns in the air, showing him how their technology worked. "Our leaders believe direct contact would be too risky," Ada explained. "They think humans might react with violence or try to take advantage of our situation." She paused, creating a holographic display of her homeworld. "But you've proven them wrong." On the Luminance, Dr. Lin paced nervously. Their superior ships were getting closer, and soon they would discover that a human knew their secret. "This is going too far," she warned through the ship's communication system. "We're breaking every protocol." But Ada couldn't stop now. Tom was teaching them things about human society that no amount of observation could have revealed. He showed them how human males and females work together as equals, how their differences made them stronger instead of weaker. "In our world," Tom explained, using his developer skills to create a visual representation of Earth's history, "we learned that diversity makes us better. When everyone contributes their unique strengths, we can solve problems in new ways." Mira watched in fascination as he showed them how human civilization had evolved. "But your males are so emotional. How do you maintain order?" Tom laughed, a sound that still surprised them with its warmth. "Emotions aren't a weakness. They help us connect, create, and care for each other. Look at this virtual world. I built it because I felt inspired, because I wanted to share something beautiful with others." In that moment, Ada understood something crucial about humans. Their strength didn't come from cold logic or rigid control, but from their ability to embrace both reason and emotion. "Your people have achieved so much," she said, looking at the displays of human achievements Tom had created. "Art, music, technology. All because you work together, regardless of gender." But their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. Dr. Lin's voice cut through their private channel. "The survey ships are demanding to board the Luminance. They know something's wrong with our research patterns." Tom sensed their distress. "What's happening?" His avatar moved closer to Ada's, showing concern despite their alien appearance. "Our leaders have noticed something unusual about our research," Ada explained. "They're coming to investigate. If they discover we've revealed ourselves to you, then let me help," Tom said firmly. "I can prove that humans are ready for contact. Let me show them what we've learned from each other." Mira's avatar flashed with worry. "They'll never accept the word of a male." "Then maybe that's exactly what they need to see," Tom replied. He began rapidly coding, creating a new virtual space. "If your leaders think males are weak and limited, let me show them how wrong they are. Let me demonstrate everything we've talked about." Ada watched in amazement as Tom worked. He was creating a virtual presentation that combined human and alien technology, showing how both species could benefit from working together. His creativity and determination challenged everything her people believed about males. As the survey ships drew closer to the Luminance, Ada made a decision that would change both their worlds. She began transferring Tom's work to their ship's systems, preparing to show their leaders something they never expected: a male being who could think, create, and maybe even help save their species. But time was running out, and they all knew that the next few hours would determine whether this experiment in understanding would end in disaster or breakthrough. The survey ships docked with the Luminance as Tom worked frantically in the virtual space. His fingers flew across his keyboard in his home office while his mind raced through the digital world. He had less than an hour to prove that humans were worth talking to. On the Luminance, Ada faced the arriving inspection team. 3 tall figures entered the research chamber, their silver robes marking them as High Council members. The leader, Elder Val, looked at the active human connection with clear disgust. "Explain why you've maintained direct contact with a primitive species," Elder Val demanded. Her voice was cold and sharp, and with a male, no less. Before Ada could answer, the ship's main display lit up. Tom had finished his work. The virtual space transformed into a vast digital museum, filled with humanity's greatest achievements. But he had done something unexpected. He had merged human and alien design styles to create something entirely new. "Greetings, honored council members." Tom's voice came through clearly, his avatar appearing as himself, but dressed in a style that respected alien customs. "I'm the male you're concerned about. Please, let me show you something." Elder Val moved to shut down the connection, but Dr. Lin stepped forward. "Wait, look at how he's adapted our interface protocols. No primitive being could do that." Tom guided them through virtual exhibits showing human cooperation between males and females. He demonstrated how Earth's technology had evolved through combined efforts, how art and science merged to create new possibilities. His virtual museum was itself proof of what he described: beautiful, complex, and impossibly well integrated with alien systems. "Our species is different from yours," Tom explained, creating interactive displays that responded to the council members' movements. "But different doesn't mean worse. Look at how we've learned from Ada and her team, how quickly we adapted to your presence." In her private quarters, Mira watched the presentation through tears. She had never seen anyone, male or female, stand up to the council this way. Tom wasn't begging for acceptance. He was showing them why it was in their interest to talk. Elder Val's face showed confusion as she watched Tom work. "How are you controlling our systems so precisely? This shouldn't be possible." "Because he understands things we've forgotten," Ada said, stepping forward. "Look at what he created in just 1 hour. Imagine what our species could learn from each other." The virtual space shifted again, showing a possible future. Tom had created simulations of how human and alien technology could work together, how their different approaches to problems could create better solutions. He showed them medical advances that could help their dying males, engineering projects that combined both species' strengths. "Your civilization needs help," Tom said gently. "We're not here to take advantage of that. We want to help, to learn from each other. Just look at what Ada's team has already discovered about us." The council members watched as Tom displayed the research data, but presented in a way they had never considered. He showed how human male emotional responses weren't weakness. They were a different kind of strength. The ability to think creatively, to care deeply, to find new solutions. Elder Val turned to Ada. "You knew this would happen. You let him prepare for our arrival." "No," Ada replied firmly. "He did this on his own. This is exactly what we've been trying to tell you about humans. They surprise us, challenge us, make us see things differently." The tension in the room was broken by a sudden alert. Earth's military satellites had detected the alien ships. Soon, humans would know they weren't alone. Tom's avatar looked at the council members. "We don't have much time now. Your ships are visible to our sensors. We need to decide. Do we handle this revelation together, as allies, or do we let fear drive us apart?" The council members looked at each other, then at the display showing Earth's military beginning to mobilize. Everything was about to change. The only question was how. Elder Val stepped forward, her expression unreadable. Perhaps we should listen to what else this male has to say." Earth's military satellites locked onto the alien ships as Tom raced to prevent a disaster. He had called his old college friend Jack, who now worked at the Space Command Center, hoping their friendship would buy them time. "You're telling me those ships up there are friendly aliens who've been visiting us through virtual reality?" Jack's voice was heavy with disbelief. "Tom, do you know how crazy this sounds?" In the virtual space connected to the luminance, Tom's avatar stood before both his friend and the alien council. Jack, remember how I told you something weird was happening with my VR project? This is it. But I need you to listen carefully. Ada's avatar stepped forward, now showing her true alien form to Jack. His image on the screen jumped back in surprise. We came here to study humans, she explained, because our species is dying. We didn't expect to find friends. On military bases across Earth, weapons powered up. Fighters prepared to launch. The world was minutes away from either first contact or first conflict. Elder Val watched the human military response with growing concern. Perhaps we were too hasty in coming here. Our ships should retreat. No, Tom said firmly. Running away will only make Earth's governments more suspicious. We need to show them the same thing you just saw, that we can work together. He quickly created a new virtual space, one that both human military leaders and the Alien Council could access safely. Jack helped coordinate the connections, though his hands shook as he typed. Space Command. This is Jack Reed, patching you into a secure virtual conference. You're going to want to see this. His voice was steady despite his fear. Military leaders from several nations found themselves in an unprecedented virtual meeting. Their avatars appeared alongside the Alien Council members while Tom and Ada prepared to prevent a war. Look at how they've matched our security protocols, one general noted, surprised. This isn't hostile technology. Tom began showing them the same presentation he had created for the Council, but with a different focus. He demonstrated how the aliens had chosen to make peaceful contact through virtual reality instead of force, how they had spent weeks learning about humanity rather than attacking. They could have invaded at any time, Tom explained. Instead, they'd reached out to understand us. Yes, they were secretive, but only because they feared how we would react. Looking at all these weapons pointed at them, can you blame them? Ada shared their research data, showing how humans and aliens had already begun working together. She revealed their species' problem with male genetics, their desperate search for help, and their growing respect for humanity's achievements. Mira, watching from her station, noticed something remarkable. The human military leaders were asking questions about culture, technology, and cooperation, not just about weapons and defenses. Their curiosity was overcoming their fear. What you're seeing here, Tom continued, is just the beginning. Think about what we could learn from each other. They have technology we've only dreamed of, and we have social and biological diversity they desperately need. Dr. Lin, who had opposed contact from the start, found herself speaking up. Your males are strong because they are valued, because they work as equals with females. We forgot that strength comes in many forms. The virtual space filled with data streams as both sides began sharing information. Medical research, technology specifications, cultural databases, a free exchange that showed trust building in real time. Earth's military satellites stayed locked on the alien ships, but no orders to attack came. Instead, diplomatic channels began to open. The Space Command Center buzzed with activity as leaders from around the world demanded to be part of the conversation. Tom looked at Ada's avatar, seeing relief in her alien features. They had prevented immediate disaster, but the real work was just beginning. Humanity would need time to accept they weren't alone in the universe. The aliens would need time to overcome centuries of gender prejudice. But as he watched humans and aliens talking together in the virtual space he had created, Tom felt hope. Sometimes the best way to overcome differences was to build something new together. 3 months after the first official contact between Earth and the alien civilization, the Luminants had become a permanent embassy in Earth's orbit. The virtual reality system Tom had built now served as the main meeting place between the two species, allowing them to interact safely while learning about each other. Tom stood in his new office at the International Space Agency, looking out at the luminance glowing against the night sky. His computer screen showed multiple virtual meetings happening between human and alien scientists, artists, and leaders. The genetic therapy is showing promising results. Ada's voice came through his special communicator. She wasn't just a researcher anymore. She had been appointed as the chief ambassador to Earth. Our first test group of male infants is developing normally. The human DNA patterns you shared are helping us understand what went wrong in our evolution. Tom smiled, remembering how far they had come. The virtual space he had created now expanded across multiple servers, hosting thousands of interactions daily. Humans were learning about advanced space travel and energy systems, while the aliens were discovering new ways to think about gender, emotion, and creativity. In the main virtual conference room, Mira was teaching a group of alien scientists about human art and music. She had become fascinated by Earth's cultural diversity, especially how it helped drive innovation. Her students watched in amazement as she showed them how human emotions influenced their technological development. You see, she explained, creating a virtual display of Earth's history. Humans advanced not despite their feelings, but because of them. Their desire to connect, to explore, to create. It all comes from emotional drives. Dr. Lin, who had once opposed human contact, now led a research team studying Earth's family structures. She had been shocked to discover that human males could be both strong and nurturing, both logical and creative. Her reports back to the alien homeworld were helping change centuries of prejudice. We need to prepare for the first physical meeting, Ada told Tom as they walked through a virtual garden, an exact copy of the one where they had first revealed their true identity. The council has finally agreed to allow direct contact between our peoples. Tom nodded, but he noticed something different in Ada's voice. Over the months of working together, they had grown close. Their different species didn't matter in the virtual world they shared. Are you worried about how your people will react to seeing humans in person? No, she said softly, her avatar showing the subtle color changes that indicated deep emotion in her species. I'm worried about how I'll react to seeing you in person. Their growing feelings for each other had been unexpected. Nobody had planned for humans and aliens to develop emotional connections, yet here they were, two beings from different worlds, drawn together by their shared dream of unity between their peoples. Elder Val, who had once looked down on human males, now regularly consulted with Earth's leaders. She had seen how human couples work together, how their differences made them stronger. Her latest proposal to the Alien Council suggested completely reshaping their society's gender roles. The humans have taught us that strength comes in many forms, she announced in a joint session with Earth's United Nations. Our attempt to study them has led to us learning far more about ourselves. As the day of first physical contact approached, preparations were made on both sides. The virtual reality systems that had started it all would remain a crucial bridge between the species, but soon they would meet face to face. Tom looked at the small box on his desk, containing a gift for Ada, a real flower preserved in crystal, matching the virtual ones they had first shared. In their virtual world, he had already created a special garden where both species could meet, with plants that responded to both human and alien biology. Our peoples were meant to find each other, Ada said, her avatar standing close to his. We came looking for a way to save our males, but we found something much more important. We found a way to save ourselves from our own prejudices. As the sun rose over Earth, casting golden light on the luminance, both humans and aliens prepared for a new chapter in their shared story. What had begun as a secret experiment in virtual reality had become a revolution in understanding, proving that sometimes the greatest discoveries come not from studying others, but from learning to see through their eyes.